What's up, YouTube? It's your boy JB. Sorry, you guys, that this video is late, but this is Power Book 2 Ghost. I hate that title. This is season 1, episode 4, and the episode was titled The Prince. So, you guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump into this episode. It was actually another good episode to me. All right, let's talk about it. All right, you guys, so you remember last week's episode, Tariq was working with is going to be working with Monet and her husband. Forgot his name already. So Tariq is on the phone with Monet, and Monet is just telling him the rules of how things is going to work. So then we also see that Tariq is supposed to be going to meet with Simon, but instead of meeting with Simon, he met with Simon's husband, Bash. And I was like, wait a minute, so Simon is gay? Never would have figured that. So Tariq is pitching this idea where he can develop this app where it's somewhat similar to like Uber Eats, Lyft, some of the services where you can have people come to your door, sorry y'all. One of the services where people can come and, what's some of those other services that people use? Grubhub, stuff like that, where you can have people deliver the items to you. So instead of them actually delivering food to you, it's a tutor coming to your door. Actually, that's a good idea. That is actually a really good idea for anybody who wants to do app development. So Tariq also tells him that he needs cash payouts. So Bash says no, but he wants 50% of gross revenue. Tariq says, how about 3%? Bash is not backing down. He says, okay, 5%, and Simon won't find out about this. So then when Tariq leaves the office, Tasha calls him, telling him he needs to, go get a gun to protect himself. And she asks him who is he working with. He doesn't tell her who he's working with, but she tells him, okay, Tariq, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send you a text message, and it's a place that where your father and your uncle and Tom used to hide guns, so it might be one there. So then we see in Tariq's room, Braden is freaking out because the guy that Scott that Tariq had Epiphany go and hold up. He's trying to figure out who is encroaching on his territory. So Tariq tells him not to worry about that they got other shit to worry about. So then we see Tariq and Braden, so they're out recruiting people. And then someone went to Prashandria's room with a packet and it has some weed in it. Now, I will say, as much as I dislike Tariq, his idea is really smart. So what the thing is, with this, excuse me, y'all, I don't have Rona. So the thing is, with this app, like I said, it's an app for tutoring. So there are different you got your math, you got your science, poli-sci, whatever else you can take, they have it. So each drug coordinates with a certain course. So then Braden asks the question, well, what if people actually want to get tutored? He says, well, the people who want to get tutored, they'll pay $50 for that. But the people who actually want drugs, they'll pay $250 for that. And in each people who gets, who signs up for it and clicks a class, they'll get the packet, and it'll also come with a study guide. But on the reverse side, for the people who want the drugs, their drugs are stapled onto the study guide. That is, if I was a drug dealer, damn, that is really smart. I hustled since I was a kid, but damn, I ain't never hustled drugs, but damn, that's a good hustle. Come on, Tariq, as much as I dislike Tariq. So then we see Tariq, so he goes and pays Davis. And he's asking Davis, like, what the fuck am I paying for? Because my mom told me that you did a mock trial. What the fuck was that? So, he's talking about, Davis told him, well, we did the mock trial because it told us that we should never put your mom on the stand. So Tariq was like, well, why don't you put me on the stand? And Davis had to tell him, no jury is going to think that you're not going to lie for your mother. So that would be kind of ridiculous for us to put you on the stand. So instead, he tells them that what they're focusing on is getting Sachs off of the case. And so once Tariq leaves, Paula questions the fact that Tariq is paying them in cash, and Paula is wondering where is the money coming from. Davis, however, tells her the money's saying, I don't give a fuck where it comes from. And I'm actually with Davis. I don't give a fuck where the money comes from. Now, Paula, however, wants the money to be wire transfer or whatever, wire transfer or check, however you get it. But then you would bring in more questions about where the hell, how, it would be a shell company that you'd be getting it from. So then we later see Tariq. So Tariq is in a washateria, and he's picking up the gun that Tasha sent him for. He also got a phone call from Paula, and he got a text message from Lauren. We'll talk about this a little bit later. So the reason that he got a text message from Lauren is because, actually, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. We'll talk about why he got the text message from Lauren. It's about Lauren, about dinner at her house. And then he also gets a call from Braden. Braden is telling him that, supply and demand is really high and they're running low on it. The supply is high, but they don't have the demand to keep up with supply. So then we also see Paula. So Paula is at the school, and she's telling Tariq at this point that they're going to have to get Sax on the stand. I'm going to explain to you guys why they're going to have to get Sax on the stand. And not Sax, but Tate. And he tells her you can't trust him. She says, well, it would have been good to know that. I told you to stay by your phone, but you weren't by your phone. And so then she hands him the money back, and she asks him, like, where did you get this money from? He says, well, I stole it from my grandmother because she's the only one that's getting any money from my father's will. And he knew where she was hiding it at. So then she hands him the money back, and he puts the money into his bag. And as he's putting the money in the bag, she notices the gun that's in his backpack. So as he's going into his room, Bash calls him, and Tariq is asking Bash for some of that, half of that money back that he gave him. And Bash says, oh, so you're giving me 15%. He says, we never agreed to that. So actually, okay. Some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about right now is not going to make sense, but I'm going to make it make sense in a few minutes, you guys. So Tariq is in his room. Diana comes up to the school, and she has some weight for him. And he also got a text message from Lauren about bringing some flowers and being on time. So then he asked, Diana, why did Monet send Drew to spy on him? And like I said again, you guys, I'm going to make it make sense in a few minutes. So Diana tells him that Monet is afraid of how she'll act around him, and she kisses him. And with Kane, that motherfucker is crazy, which we saw that in this episode. I mean, we saw that in the past 3 episodes, how crazy Kane is. And then Drew returns. And like I said, we'll discuss that as well. So then, as the episode ends, we saw that Tariq got the guy Scott suspended from school. He's in class with Lauren. Lauren is apologizing to him about this dinner party. And again, I'm going to make it all make sense in just a few minutes. And, he tells her we all got options, and he's not backing down from this fellowship. It's a fellowship, and he's not backing down from her. And then she notices his phone, and she notices that Diana's texting him. She's like, who is Diana? He says, I told you, we all have options. So I'm going to pause here and move on. All right, you guys, so I want to go ahead and get Jabari and Carrie out of the way, because their scenes are like literally cringeworthy at times to me. So Jabari, he's in class and he's teaching. And then once he ends his lecture, Oliver and Professor Milgram come in. And Oliver's telling the students that the fellowship is open. And Brashandra, she was happy for that. So the thing with the fellowship is the winner gets an all expenses paid. They get an all expense paid internship, and they get to go to DC. And Brashandra's like, oh girl, you get to go see your man, and to Lauren. So then it also counts as course credit with the option for early graduation. And Brashandra's like, who the hell wants to leave college early? Okay. So then, after class is over with, Lauren is asking Jabari, like, what is he looking for? And he tells her, and when I was looking at Jabari talking to Lauren, I'm like, after seeing last week's episode, I'm like, Jabari wants to fuck Lauren. So I'm wondering if Jabari and Carrie both have sex addictions, because it would explain a little bit more about those two. So, and then Carrie is looking at him. I'm like, she's looking at him with disgust. I'm like, girl, I mean, honestly, but those two, they get on my nerves. I got to be honest with you about that. Jabari and Carrie get on my nerves. So Jabari actually tells Lauren that she should invite Professor Milgram and another student. And Tariq says, well, I'll join. So then we do see, Jabari. Well, actually, Carrie showed up first, and then because Jabari was already there, and when she got there, there was a little bit of tension between those two. I'm like, oh God, this is built up sexual tension with those two. So Tariq is running late as usual. He's on CP time. He's trying to get some flowers, but the flower shop is closed. So then he gets there, and they were like, well, you're late, but you're in time for dessert. So then they talk about the book that they're reading in class, The Prince, and Tariq made a somewhat of an impression on the mother and the father, and then they both talk about his case, Tasha's case, and him getting Davis on the case. Carrie knows Davis, but she tells him to be careful because sometimes him winning the case is not always beneficial toward his client. Then they talk about Jabari's book, and then this is where the tension between Carrie and Jabari just got really thick. Even Lauren said, you know what, Tariq, let's get up and go into another room. So they do go into another room, and he notices a picture of her brother. He asks her about her brother. She's like, well, my brother, he took drugs. Actually, he took some drugs, and then he got himself into a mental institution. And, she was talking about, well, he knows what the pressure feels like with his dad because he and his dad had a bad conversation the last time he saw him. She's like, how did it end? He was like, he died. I'm like, you leaving a whole lot out of that situation. You shot the nigga and killed him. But that's neither here nor there. So then, we hear her parents calling for her, and her boyfriend Malcolm is there because her mom called him, and Malcolm thought that, Tariq was like a little mentee to her. She's like, that's not him. And then we see Jabari and Carrie go back to their office, and they have sex. The most weird and awkward sex I've ever saw on television in my life. One of the most. Let's move on. All right, you guys, and then I'm gonna mix Tasha in with the situation with Davis and Saxe and Paula. So Tasha is in the prison. She's coming in there where her new friend Layla is, and she notices the guard that's been fucking with her, and she's like, somebody is watching me. And Layla was like, well, if you're looking at the bitch, you're gonna invite the bitch over. And when she says she feels like somebody's watching her and she thinks it's her, Layla got up and said, that's a you problem. I'm like, exactly, Layla. I'm with you. That's a you problem, Tasha. So then we see Davis. So Davis and Saxe are with the judge. And Davis is trying to get Saxe removed. I'm sorry, you guys. Somebody called my phone and I don't know why. And I don't know who it was. Davis, like I said, back to Davis. Davis and Saxe are in front of the judge. And like I said, Davis is trying to get Saxe thrown off of the case. So he's pleading his case and he's trying to show that Saxe has bias against his client. So the judge is like, okay, you know what? I'll allow it. Bring in your witnesses. So then we see Saxe. So Saxe calls Mock upset about this whole situation. And then, the person that he put on the case to help him, he comes in and, Saxe is asking him, so did you get any information about James? He says, no, we're being stonewalled. So then Saxe once again suggests some illegal shit about following Tariq, and he's like, a minor. I thought we were gonna do this by the book. I'm like, dude, it is Saxe. When would you ever expect him to do anything by the book? So then we see the cops. They bring in Saxe's niece who was trying to score some weed. I wonder what they're doing. They are loud. So then we see in the judge's chambers, Blanca Rodriguez is there. And she says, because Davis asked her when she was there the last time and Saxe put a stop to what she was going to say. What was she going to say? She says, my testimony would have drawn an accurate picture of his conduct. He wants you guys to believe that he is clean. And I'm just like, oh God, her fucking voice is annoying. I never wanted to hear this voice again in my life. And then she says, when I found Terry Silver's body, I had Cooper Saxe with me, and he took the phone, and then he planted it later on James St. Patrick to frame him for his murder. And then she also talks about, and also because she couldn't prove that actually happened. So the one thing she can prove is the fact that she, I also know, because he asked her, who was Elisa Marie? Elisa Marie is Proctor, what the fuck is Joseph Proctor and Lindsay Proctor's daughter. And, he was using her to help him with his case. And then, when she died, actually it was before she died, but, she talks about the fact that Cooper Sachs had an illegal wire put on Elisa Marie's backpack. I'm just like, oh God, her voice is irritating the shit out of me. And Sachs made her look like shit. He made her look bad because he mentioned the fact that, she also mentioned Tate about them, having Tate lie about what he saw on what he didn't see. He was like, but weren't you with me? She was like, yes, I was. He said, did you just try to stop me? She says, no, I did. Well, yes, I did. But he said, but she couldn't stop him. So then the judge says, okay, I'm going to let you guys bring in Rashad Tate. So then we see Mock and the guy from the DNC, I forgot his name, and they're talking to Tate, who's asking them to make this shit go away. They're like, nope, we're not going to make it go away. What you're going to do is you're going to go on the stand and say what we want you to say. I'm like, oh shit. Dirty politics, huh? And then they asked him, did he lie to Blanca? Abso-fucking-lutely. So then we see Tate on the stand, and I was about to say Rashad. Davis is questioning him, and Rashad says he didn't lie. He did lie, but he didn't lie for Sachs. He lied for Tasha because Tasha came to him and threatened him even after he helped her get her daycare up and running, which that part was true. He did help her with the daycare, but she didn't threaten him. And afterwards, Davis was like, you ain't nothing but a lying ass nigga. I was like, exactly. So then we see Sachs. Sachs is damn, you ain't learned shit. So you guys remember I was telling you about his niece. Well, he sent his niece to spy on Tariq at school. So she goes into this party and she notices Tariq and she goes up to him and she says, has anyone ever told you you have dark energy? I would have told her, fuck you. But Tariq was like, no, and he walked away. So then she's left there talking to Brayden, and Brayden is coming on to her. I'm like, Brayden, you are really stupid. You don't see that this girl is working you? But okay. So then Tariq goes up and he goes up to one guy and tells him that Brayden has some pills. And then he starts, telling other people. Then Scott comes and fights with Brayden. And that's why Scott got suspended. Not for fighting, but for hitting Brayden. Tariq played that excellently, gotta say. So then we see Paula and Davis, and they were getting it in, and that scene was hot and heavy. And, Paula takes out her phone and notices that she got a wire transfer from Simon's husband, and it was from a shady LLC. I'm like, well, shit, what do you want? You told him you don't want no cash, so now you got a wire transfer from a shady ass company. What the fuck you want? So then they're talking about, I forgot David. I didn't even know Davis was married because she put on his ring. So then they were talking about the case about Blanca and Tate, and then they had an aha moment, and then we see Tamika. There's a guy delivering flowers to her. She says, who is he from? He said Davis McLean. I don't know why Tamika didn't think at that point, Davis McLean, why the fuck would Davis McLean send me flowers? She didn't even think, and the dude said, you've been served. I'm like, you big dummy. That was obvious. Like, seriously, that was obvious. But let's move on. All right, you guys, and then let's close the episode out with Monet, Kane, Drew, and Diana. So Monet and Kane, they going off on the GTG boys and about them being on social media and how they are about to cut off their supply. I'm like, ooh, y'all niggas really fucked up. So then as Monet and Kane are walking away, Lil Guap calls Monet a punta. I'm like, oh. So she goes back up to him. She says, what'd you say? He was about to say it, and as he said it, pop! Kane knocked the fuck out of the nigga. I mean, Kane laid his ass out. And Monet knows her kids. I will say that about Monet. She knows her kids. She knows that Drew is the sensible one. Kane is the irrational one. I don't know what Diana is. but Diana's something, but she knows her kids. So then later we see Kane, he's telling Drew and Diana what happened. And then not Diana, but Monet comes in saying that they have a new partner. And they're like, who? And she says it's Tariq. And Kane was like, we working with that bougie motherfucker? She was like, yes, we are. And, she asked Drew, what does he think about it? And Drew's like, he doesn't really know, but Tariq is a smart person. So, whatever. And then she asked Diana, what's the next move? And actually, when she was talking to Drew, Kane jumped in and she told Kane, shut the fuck up. So she tells Diana she wants her to find out how, actually no, she was telling Drew that she wants him to find out, how Tariq is moving the weight and, figure that stuff out. And Diana's like, well, I can do that. She's like, nope, I told Drew to do it. So then she says, you know what, for that shit that you pulled with your daddy, give me your phone. And she gave her phone and she told her, you can go. And when Kane was in there and Kane was like, questioning her, she told Kane basically, stay in your motherfucking lane. I'm like, exactly. Like I said, Monet knows her kids. She knows her kids, and from what I'm seeing, I can figure out her kids too. Mine is Diana. I don't know what Diana's purpose is. Not her purpose. I don't know what Diana brings. Kane, the muscle. Drew, the brains. Diana, I don't know. Do you guys know? Let me know in the comment section below. So then we see Drew. So Drew goes over to the school and he's at Tariq's room. And, he's, Tariq, 100% put it together that Monet sent him there to spy on him. So then Tariq is like, well, you know what, I'm finna dip out. I got to go to class. So Drew follows him. And when he gets to class, Drew finds himself a little friend. And, that actually allowed Tariq to dip out of class. Because, Drew was just smitten by that little dark-skinned boy that he was talking to. So then we see Drew and his friend. So they go back to his room. And the friend takes his shirt off and asks Drew to draw his next tattoo. And that was the scene where I figured it out in that first scene with Drew. I'm like, Drew is gay. And then we got confirmation that Drew was gay when him and his boy got hot and heavy until Tariq started blowing up his phone. So then, Monet is back at the house with Diana. And she's like, your brother's calling you. Answer it and put it on speakerphone. So when she put it on speakerphone, Drew said that, Tariq is blowing up my phone. I'm not with him. Can you bring the weight? And Monet is listening. She said, y'all got to get y'all shit together, but go up there and take the shit to him. So then Drew, when he comes back home, Monet, she asked him, what did he find out? He says, I didn't find out anything because Tariq knew that you sent me up there. She says, well, where's the money at? And, he asked her, she said, where's the money? He said, it's in my backpack. So then she goes in his backpack and finds the picture that he drew of the guy. And I didn't understand if Monet knows if he's gay or not, because that conversation that she had was kind of weird. She was telling him to take care of himself. So I think she knows. She got to know. Maybe she doesn't. Who knows? And then let's just end the episode. So Tasha got a text from, I'm assuming Monet's husband, talking about Tariq is safe for now. And Sax got a text from his niece with that picture that she took after the fight. And you can see Tariq looking at her. Like, I don't know why Sax fucks with this kid. The kid is smart. But you guys, that is the review for Power Book 2. Be sure to like this video, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification button so you guys are aware of when I drop anything else. Share this video, and until the next one, you guys, do me a solid favor out there. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, wash your hands, stay safe, stay cool, stay warm, whatever the weather is in your area. And until the next one, you guys, I will see you guys later. And I'm so sorry that this video is late, but we'll be back on schedule next Sunday. Bye, guys.